my other half, my better half, by far, Barbara, who's standing here telling me how I can improve, and I'm sure I need it. So today, anyway, I'm so proud to know you all. It's so wonderful to see you. Sorry, I'm all flustered right now. It's so lovely to see that so many people want to grow and learn. This evening, I'm going to talk about the love and beauty dynamic. This dynamic is mentioned in the first chapter of the Divine Principle, in the Principle of Creation. And I'm going to talk about how I've used this dynamic to improve the quality of my marriage. I think this dynamic has helped my marriage more than any other aspect of anything else in the Divine Principle. So, as unificationists, so before I talk about the love and beauty dynamic, I want to talk about the bigger picture, because it's important to grasp the bigger picture, I believe. I personally believe that unificationists are kind of united by a larger goal. We are all together striving to learn to live up and embrace the principles that are mentioned in the Principle of Creation and the principles of restoration. I believe we're doing this because we perceive that this is the only way to build a world of peace and co-prosperity, to bring about the end of wars and the end of poverty. We derive that belief, we know, from Genesis 1:28, the three blessings. And God told Adam and Eve when he created them that they had three core ways to receive blessings. He said, if you would, so what is a fruitful person? You can say a fruitful person is someone who makes a positive contribution to society. A person to become fruitful will probably have to develop their intellect. They also had to probably develop their core values, so they wouldn't go around hurting other people in community. They would probably have to develop their relationship skills so that they could relate well with those who they love. And they probably have to develop attitudes that will allow them to keep growing throughout their life, so that they could become even more of a temple of God. And through becoming fruitful, being a positive contribution, people are much more likely to receive blessings and sense they were blessed. And also God said, multiply. He said, if you take that fruitfulness into your marriage, love your spouse, care for your children, then your family, your children will have a better start in life and will be more likely to make a positive contribution to society. And Adam and Eve would more likely to receive blessings. And then lastly, God said to Adam and Eve, if you take dominion over creation, if you can take control over nature, if you can use it to learn to use it to feed your family, to build homes, if you could develop technical knowledge, then blessings will come and famines would end, and we could end all kinds of problems. And when we look at the research, it's very clear that those who live a three blessings lifestyle are more likely to sense they are blessed in their life and be happier with their lives. Now, it's important to understand that just before the section on the three blessings in the Principle of Creation is section 4.3.1, is a section on love and beauty. And love and beauty is just briefly, it says something like this. It says, when two entities form a common base and establish a four-position foundation, they will engage in give and take action. In accomplishing this, the emotional force that the subject partner gives to the object partner is called love, and the emotional force that the object partner returns to the subject partner is called beauty. The purpose of love and beauty is to enable two beings to establish the four-position foundation and realize the purpose of creation. By sharing love and beauty with each other, they join in harmonious oneness. Now, we've just seen as unification, we know that the first blessing and the second blessing, the third blessing are all channels through which God's love can come. But they are also, God's love comes through a four-position foundation. So therefore, each of this means that each of the three blessings has to be driven by the love and beauty dynamic. Each of them has to, because the section beforehand says so. So in each case, the love and beauty dynamic is the primary driver that creates the energy that allows for blessings to be created. That means love and beauty is central to each of the three blessings being achieved. So if we look at the second blessing, love and beauty, if I can find things to appreciate in my beloved, if I can find things to appreciate in the act of building a family, a marriage, and a home, then I'm much more likely to feel inspired. If I'm enjoying the person I'm with, if I like who they are, if I like the act of it, then I'm more likely to give. And in giving, energy is created, and positive things will come into our home. However, in order to see the beauty in the family, the goodness that will trigger me, to push me to say I want to give something, I have to have an appreciation of the good things in my wife and in my marriage and in my family. So I have to develop my ability to appreciate so that I can see the beauty, so that I want to give. So for me, this means that learning the art of appreciation is essential to living a fruitful life, a fruitful blessing. It's not an extra, it's not something I can choose to do. If I want to find God in my marriage, if I want to feel that we're building something beautiful together, I have to have some control over how I develop my appreciation of my partner, my marriage, and my children. So we have to ask ourselves why the love and beauty dynamic is central to human existence. Why is it so important to us? Well, it's because if there is a creator, the only motivation that could inspire the creation of the cosmos is the love and beauty dynamic. You know, God's thinking about, 10 billion years of giving so that he can find children, to have the joy of seeing his children and seeing his love reflected in them and seeing the joy in them. There's no other motivation that would inspire God to give for 10,000 years. There's no other reason to do it apart from to see beauty in what he's created. So since the principle inspires us to become temples of God, then we have to, absolutely, if God is to come into us, we have to also have the similar motivation and similar energy, and therefore seek to give in order to find beauty, and find beauty in order to give. So there are two components of the love and beauty dynamic. There's a desire to give love, and there's the appreciation of the beauty that's there. And both are essential for a happy family. But so firstly, I want to talk a little bit about what I've learned about giving things to my wife and family. So there are lots of fields of science, and many of them talk about the love and beauty dynamic because it's central to human existence. So there's, for example, John Gottman. He's a family psychologist. He studied families for 15 years or more. And in studying, he wanted to find how they interacted so that they could build a successful relationship. And what he found was really interesting to me. It was useful to me. He found that couples that build lasting relationships, seek to make sure that they have at least 5 positive moments of interaction for each negative. So he found even couples that had an argumentative style of solving their problems could build a lasting relationship if they kept giving far more than seeing the negatives. So what did that mean to me? How did I take that? Well, it meant that if the negative, something went wrong in my family and my marriage or the interaction with my wife, I had to learn to find a way to do 5 positive acts as quickly as possible to restore that sense of unity. So I got into the habit of doing that. Yeah. Okay. So after something went wrong, I would hug her, or I would listen to her, or I would try to say something nice about her, or I would do one of her jobs around the home, or I would fix something, or I would just say, I'm so sorry, I'm such a stupid husband. I would do something to try to restore that sense of unity. Next, we all know probably about this book, The 5 Languages of Love. And this was such a popular book, and one of the reasons it's such a popular, because it talks exactly about the love and beauty dynamic. It's, Gary Chapman said, you can't just give to your partner what you like, just what you like. You have to give to your partner what they see is beautiful. So, I was used to giving, many times I gave what I thought was beautiful. And it didn't always stimulate my wife and bring about joy. So we know that some of us enjoy touch, we like hugs or holding hands or massage, etc. Some of us like words or praise. Some of us like doing something together. And, it's hard sometimes to find those things we like doing together. Some spouses like having things done for them, and some of them like gifts and surprises. I would say there's another language of love. I would say it's conversation. I think conversation is such a profound and wide range of conversation that it stands as another language. And for example, I had to learn. I would give, for example, listening to my wife, but I would listen as a man, listen to another man, not as a woman listens to a woman. And I had to learn how to change my listening style so that my wife felt happier when I listened to her. Okay. So, sorry about that. I think it's important to realize that there are many other famous books out there that convey the message. If you live the principles which are, one of the principles which are mentioned in the principle of creation to a high standard of ability, then your life is more likely to be blessed. So there's John Gray's book, for example. It's quite an old one, but it was one of the first in a series of books on the men-women relationship. He wrote a book called Mars, Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And he explored the dual characteristics of masculinity and femininity, and how, though they have men and women have many similarities, they have profoundly different ways of viewing life sometimes. And that was really important to many of us. Also, Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, was another major bestseller for many years. And all of the 7 principles are found within the principles of creation. And therefore, to understand that there are basic principles within the principle of creation, which if we do a little bit better, our marriages will blossom. So I want to move on to beauty now. What is beauty? Yeah. If I can't find the beauty in my wife or my family, it's hard for me to find energy for my marriage. And if I can't see the beauty, so what is appreciation? How do I develop my appreciation? If I don't know how to appreciate, then I can't see the beauty and I can't find energy. I can't find inspiration. Of course, sometimes we can push ourselves to give, and sometimes then that energy comes. However, I found over time that it was much easier to find beauty, to develop my sense of appreciation, so that I could trigger myself into wanting to give again. And as I gained control over my ability to appreciate of different forms of beauty in my wife and different forms of beauty in my family, I found that I could joyfully give for longer periods of time. So I want to talk a little bit about how I started on my journey to learn the art of appreciation, because it was really quite, I didn't have any control over it at all when I started, and I had to develop it over time. So John Gottman's ratio, 5-to-1 ratio of 5 acts of kindness to 1 negative moment, taught me something important about appreciation. And what did it teach me? It taught me if I saw 1 negative quality in my wife, or she did something I felt was wrong, that of course then I felt separate from her. However, I found that it was not good enough to find 1 positive quality to cancel out that negative thought. I had to find at least 3 or 5 positive qualities about my wife, so that I could cancel out the critical thought and come back to a sense of unity and love for her and appreciation for her. So I realized if I wanted God to come down into my family through love and beauty, I had to take appreciation seriously. I had to work at appreciation as hard as I worked at understanding giving. So early in our marriage, I realized that I had to have better control over my ability to appreciate my wife. So I started with a 40-day appreciation condition. Every morning I'd go out and pray and for 40 minutes and say, let me see the beauty, let's find. And I started writing a list of all the good things I could see. And then I would pray and make the list longer. And then I would talk to her sometimes and listen about her life and find new good things to write down. And my list of good points grew longer. And at 40 days, after 40 days, I think I had a really quite a long list of positive qualities. She didn't know anything about this list, total secret, but I was trying to say, I've got to do this. And then I got into the habit every morning for 3 or 4 minutes to think about this list, to kind of reprogram my brain to remember them all and add in new ones when I found them. And then, so I found that when I did that, I woke up and I could greet her with a positive heart, because she was, no matter what happened the night before, the day before, I had wiped it all away. And I said, good morning, my darling, you're wonderful. You have so many good points. So then many times I went to bed and we tried to, I just tried to show appreciation for her in some way or another. And after some time, I learned something really precious. I found that living in a state of appreciation was a far happier place to be than in a state of criticism. Duh. So why did I want to go back to criticism? Why did I want to go back there? Of course, some things happen sometimes, they always happen. But because I liked being in appreciation so much, I would always try to desperately find a way to go back and find appreciation for her, to forget the weakness and to find the love. So while I was learning all this and thinking about this, I thought, God is so giving. I always remember the verse, God, about the flowers blooming for the sinners in the Bible. I thought, yeah, the flowers bloom for a sinner, me, And I thought about how God can keep giving to me. And the only way I could work it out, he has a large range of ways to appreciate me. And when he can't see goodness in one part of me or one aspect of me, he is another. So of course, he can look at the good things that I was doing. He can look at the weaknesses, but he can also look at the good and be inspired by them. Yeah. So I could learn to see the good things in what my wife was doing. I could learn to admire qualities in my wife. We did a quiz one day, or like a test, and we had like 40 different adjectives, and we had to tell each other what adjectives apply to each other. And I said, she's so brave. She's such a brave woman. I'm so proud of her bravery. And she's a very generous woman. And she's very serious about fulfilling her responsibilities. And she told me some things, but I remember the 3 I said about her, you know. Or I can appreciate the many things that she offered in the past. So I thought about all the list of all the good things she's done in her life and for us, and you know, the fact that she's given me 4 children. And so I had a really long list in my brain of all the good things in the past. And then I could also, we've learned, I spent a lot of time learning about her childhood and her history. And amazing, you know, she came from quite a difficult background in a communist nation, and she's grown to be an awesome woman, and I can only be proud of all that, you know, she's trying to overcome those things. So, you know, when one method of appreciation wasn't working, I used another. And today, you know, after years of doing this, if something goes wrong, I just say something like this to myself. I say, I know she has so many good points. I have a long list somewhere. I have so many reasons not to hang on to my resentment or anger or frustration. And I just instantly forget what happened. It just kind of like goes, disappears, goes, because I say she's got a long list of good points, you know. And it's so cute how that works, you know. Sometimes out of teasing her, I kind of pretend to kind of hold on to, I'm still upset with you. But actually, if you just turn around and said, do you love me? I would say, of course, you know. Anyway, now she knows. Something else I studied is something called, we found about called the Pygmalion effect. It's a very important effect. We, you know, as parents, we as a healthy parent, you see, you have a child, but you can see the child in their future. You can see their future self, and you're kind of trying to encourage them out of the child, so that they can find space in that future potential. And through love and gentle, you know, help, they slowly but surely get that. So God can see and appreciate your future potential. This always gives him hope. He says, next year she's going to be so wonderful. He's going to be really cool, you know, in 10 years, oh my gosh, he's going to be, I'm so proud of him. So it's really important, I learned, as a partner in marriage, that you appreciate the full potential of your spouse. You can see your partner's a lot, you know, once upon a time, my wife was a young wife. She was just learning, and she's going to take time to grow. So I kind of grew a picture of some of the things that I knew she could develop over the, you know, the future years that I believed in, and I kind of pictured her like that regularly. And over time, I could see her growing into that space. I could see that she became that, like a child would become, you know. Some parents teach their children music, for example, and believe that their children can learn music and encourage them, and the child goes, well, I don't know about this, and after, you know, few years they grow into it. And so, you know, anyway, so the research shows this is true, you know, because if those teachers that can see the future potential in children are much more likely to draw that out of their students than those teachers who can't. So I fully can see in my wife some things that she's developed, which I saw many years ago. One of the other things I think I really learned, in my studies, was that to appreciate your partner's dreams and goals. So as human beings, we grow into adulthood, and then we develop a sense of where we would like to go with our lives. And over time, those goals change and develop, but we develop a sense of our idealized self, what we would like to be ideally, what we would like to achieve with our lives. And as partners, it's really important because God is often talking to this, to you, saying you can do this, or you could achieve this. So it's really important, I think, as spouses, in most cases, not all, but most, to appreciate your partner's goals. I think it's really important to offer moral support, good job, well done. I see you're losing weight, and I'm very proud of you, and I'm so glad you're studying, and to give moral support, to say, I'm with, I want to help you, encourage you to do what you're doing. And it can be practical support, like, taking your partner for a walk, or helping them, helping with their exercises, or helping them with their studies, or whatever. But I think it can be miserable if your partner doesn't see something completely different than you see, and they want to tell you that you should be somebody completely different. I think that's kind of a miserable experience in some ways, Yeah. Over the years, I think, this is more recently, I think I've learned about this as I studied animals, actually. I studied some animals, and I spent some time studying the habits of all the animals that mate for life. The puffins, the swans, the ones that marry and never divorce, almost never divorce, And I learned that they do all kinds of things to keep, they swapped, having lots of girlfriends, for a few weeks a year, to having close relationships of appreciation all year round. So they switched it. So they have appreciation for each other. If you look at these couples, the swans, or they kind of touch each other or dance, or and I learned about the albatrosses, and they when they come home, when the partner comes home, they are so happy. They're so happy to see each other. They go, oh, it's so lovely to see you. And so we kind of have a little ritual in our marriage. When she comes home, I get a bit excited, and I do a little something, but it's only for her, and it's to show you are special. You're a very awesome person, and I love you so much. And if she goes away for longer periods of time, or I do, the ritual at the airport is even more extravagant. You really don't want to be there. So anyway, I think so. We develop these rituals which say you are different than anybody else, and our love is special, and you are special. So of course I always go out holding hands. Whenever we go out, we're holding hands, or when we go to bed, I always make sure I hug my wife. And I personally believe I should hug my wife several times a day, because just to express this, that you are wonderful. I like and love you, And I think there's, a lot of women have insecurities, and they're not too sure about their bodies, or their all kinds of things, but just to have someone who says, who's always there for them, I think it's very important. So anyway, so that's the end, yeah. Hopefully, so this dynamic you see I think it's just incredible. It's the way the universe works. It's how it works. The free market works on the same love and beauty dynamic, and marriage does. And if you can get better control over it, your marriage can improve regularly. I hope I've been able to convey that. The M&M staff have some homeworks, which they hope you will do, help you find more love and beauty. And then we'll also have some discussion in the groups. So I think we'll leave it there, shall we? Thank you.
Thank you, Sian. Thank you so much. This was a really wonderful lecture. It really, especially because Barbara is there. So it really feels like a love letter to her.
It is.
And we are here to hear it, and she cannot be like, oh no, and be humble, and she has to hear all the compliments and how wonderful she is. This is really wonderful. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and it was also so pure and nice, how you mentioned the albatross and the swans. It made me think of how Trafalgar was talking about learning to love from purely from the animals, and then you really explained, right?
Yes, no, oh my gosh, if you study the true love animals, you can see so much about how you keep the relationship going, you know. Mrs. Beaver has a little to-do list which is this long, you know, and she says if you go out and fix the dam, cut down a tree, then come back, I'll snuggle you. And my wife has a list this long. And the Arctic tern, he brings his partner a fish. He fishes. I love you, you know. And of course they have a lot of massage, you know, like oh, scratch and massage and touch and hugging. So you do all these things, and you find that love is close by. You know, you can learn from the true loves.
Awesome. I know what you mean with the long list of Mrs. Beaver. I also have a long list on my phone.
Mrs. Beaver. Hello, do I rename you Mrs. Beaver?
Yeah. This was lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you once again.